The air over Macragge's hive primaris shimmered under the twin suns, but not with heat, no. This distortion pulsed with an emerald luminescence, raw and alive, as if reality itself were sighing. A rift tore open above the administratum spire, silent at first, then roaring with the sound of wind through ancient trees and distant mournful whale song. From it tumbled a sphere of woven light and bioluminescent vines, trailing tendrils like roots seeking soil. It crashed into the plaza below, cracking ferrocrete and sending Imperial guardsmen scrambling. Dust settled, silence returned, thick and wary. Then the sphere unfurled. Vines retracted like serpents retreating into burrows, revealing a figure. Tall, slender, skin the deep blue of twilight oceans, marked with glowing stripes that pulsed like circuitry made of starlight. His eyes, wide and golden, blinked open, scanning the towering spires, the grim statues of saints and primarchs, the cold geometry of the Imperium. Jake Sully, warrior of the Na'vi, bonded to Eywa, last Tichuan of Pandora, stood alone on an alien world he could not name, his banshee mount long gone, his link to the neural network of his world severed. He placed a hand on the cracked ground, fingers splayed. He felt nothing, no whisper of life, no thrum of connection, only the metallic chill of dead stone and the faint, greasy vibration of distant reactors. A cold dread, deeper than any fear of AMP suits or RDA dropships, seized him. This world was broken. It did not sing. It screamed silently, a scream buried under millennia of iron and dogma. A voxhaler crackled nearby. "Halt, Xenos! Identify yourself in the name of the God Emperor." The voice was harsh, mechanical, devoid of curiosity, only protocol and suspicion. Jake rose, slowly, hands open, palms outward in the Na'vi gesture of peace. He spoke in Na'vi, his voice steady despite the terror coiling in his gut. "Oil ngati kami." "I see you." The guardsmen didn't. They saw only heresy in motion. Its surface interrogation chamber beneath the spire was cold, illuminated by flickering luminal strips. Jake sat shackled, not with metal, but with null-field manacles that deadened his neural sensitivity, making him feel hollow, like a shell washed ashore. Inquisitor Lysandra Vorn paced before him, her crimson robes stark against the gray plascrete. Her face was sharp, ascetic, eyes like chips of obsidian. She had reviewed the Pict captures, the impossible descent, the bioluminescent markings, the utter lack of augmetic enhancement or visible weaponry. "You bear no sign of chaos taint," she mused, voice like dry parchment. "No warp signature, yet your biology defies the lex mechanicus. You speak no known tongue, yet your vocalizations carry structured patterns. Are you a creation of the Xenos? Tau? Eldar? A new strain of tyrannid bioform?" Jake, though unable to understand her words, sensed her intent, not cruelty but a terrifying, absolute certainty. He tried again, gesturing to his chest, then outward, mimicking roots spreading, hands weaving an invisible web. Eywa, the All-Mother, the neural network, the balance. To Vorn, it looked like ritual. Her hand drifted toward the hololithic dagger at her belt. "The Imperium tolerates no balance but that enforced by the Imperial truth," she said, her voice hardening. "No network but the Astronomican's light. You are an anomaly. Anomaly must be resolved." As she raised her hand to signal the Arbits, the Vox grill on her belt erupted. "Inquisitor!" Multiple Xenos signatures detected at the breach site. Confirmed, Aeldari, Craftworld forces materializing. The chamber lights dimmed as klaxons wailed. Aeldari? The word meant nothing to Jake, but the sudden tension, the guards drawing bolt pistols, the way Vorn's eyes blazed with fanatical resolve. He recognized threat, and he recognized isolation. He was alone between empires he did not know, and the only truth he held, Eywa, was a language no one here spoke. The first shot echoed down the corridor outside. Jake tensed. His muscles remembered the hunt. His spirit, starved of connection, hungered for something to hold on to. The Aeldari strike was swift, surgical, a ripple of displaced air, the chime of shuriken catapults, the sickening crack thump of witchfire. Imperial defenders fell, not screaming, but dissolving in emerald flames. Jake, freed in the chaos by a collapsing bulkhead, moved not with desperation, but with the coiled grace of a reef predator. He saw the Aeldari, not as enemies, not yet, but as life, vibrant, alien, boot alive. Their movements were fluid, their armor organic in its elegance, their eyes holding ancient sorrow. One warrior, taller than the others, helm removed to reveal sharp violet features and eyes like fractured amethyst, locked gazes with Jake. For a heartbeat, something passed between them, not words but a resonance. A flicker of recognition in the Aeldari's gaze. Farseer. The title surfaced in Jake's mind, unbidden, a whisper from some deep instinctive layer. The Farseer raised a hand, not in threat but in warning. Behind her, the air ripped, not with light but with hunger. A portal of swirling crimson bled open, vomiting forth horrors, twisted fleshy beasts with too many limbs, screeching daemons with eyes like burning coals, the stench of sulfur and decay flooding the corridor. Cornate berserkers, roaring hymns of slaughter charged through the gap. The Aeldari's disciplined retreat became a desperate holding action. Jake didn't hesitate. He snatched a fallen shuriken pistol, not to fire but to feel. The cold alien metal was dead, but the energy cells within hummed faintly. He focused, drawing not on Eywa, but on the raw, desperate need for connection, for the world to respond. His neural interface, dormant, flared with phantom pain. The shuriken pistol's casing warmed. Bioluminescent patterns, faint but undeniable, flickered across, blue like his own skin. The Farseer's eyes widened. Impossible. The Imperium saw only chaos. The Aeldari saw possibility, and the warp saw prey. The retreat became a flight through the underhive, a labyrinth of rust and despair. Jake, the Farseer, Eilastri, her surviving warriors, and a handful of battered Imperial survivors, including a grim-faced Cadian sergeant, whose faith in the Emperor warred with the undeniable evidence of Jake's something. They holed up in a derelict Arbite's precinct, its vox dead, its power failing. The air reeked of ozone and blood. Jake knelt in the center of the debris-strewn floor, ignoring the wary glances. He placed his palms flat on the grime-coated ferrocrete. He closed his eyes. He didn't pray to Eywa, she was unreachable. Instead, he remembered. The feel of Hometree's roots, the song of the banshees, the pulse of the great Leonopteryx beneath him, the hum of the neural cue connecting him to his mount, to Neytiri, to the world itself. He poured that memory into the dead stone, not as a command, but as a plea. A seed into barren soil. Hours passed. Exhaustion gnawed at him, then a tremor, faint, then another. A crack snaked across the floor towards him, not from structural failure, from within. Green shoots, impossibly vibrant, pushed through the crack, unfurling tiny bioluminescent leaves that cast a soft, verdant glow. They grew with unnatural speed, weaving around discarded shells, climbing the walls, their light pulsing in time with Jake's slowing breath. Eilastri approached, her staff held ready, but her expression was awe, not fear. She extended a hand, not to touch the plant, but to hover near it. Her eyes closed. "The weave," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "It answers him, not the warp, not the Astronomicon, something older, deeper, a current untouched by the fall." The Cadian sergeant crossed himself, muttering litanies, but his eyes were fixed on the glowing vines, his knuckles white on his lasgun. This wasn't tech heresy. This wasn't Xenos sorcery. This was life, defiant, growing in the heart of the Imperium's tomb. A single luminous flower bloomed at Jake's knee, its petals shimmering like captured nebulae. He opened his eyes. He wasn't connected to Eywa, but he had made a node, a tiny, fragile network, born of memory and will, in a world that had forgotten how to sing. The silence in the precinct was no longer fearful, it was listening. News, in the grim darkness of the far future, travels fast when it bleeds heresy. Whispers of the Xenos Green Saint reached Terra not through astropaths, but through the fragmented, frantic reports of survivors and the cold, analytical logs of Mechanicus observers who dared secretly to study the anomalous plant samples. On Holy Terra, beneath the golden dome of the Imperial Palace, the High Lords convened an emergency session. Lord Commander Solar, face like carved granite, stared at a picked capture of the glowing vine snaking up a ruined spire. "A new Xenos weapon?" he growled. The master of the Administratum, shuffling data slates, murmured of unprecedented bio-yield potential for agri-worlds. The master of the Adeptus Mechanicus, Logis Prime Kalen, his mechadendrites twitching, presented spectral analysis, the energy signature. It bears no resonance with the Imperium. It is material. yet it defies known xenobiology. It integrates with Imperial alloys at a molecular level, enhancing structural integrity and emitting low-level neuroactive harmonics. His voice held a terrible forbidden hunger, but it was the ecclesiarch who delivered the judgment, his voice booming with the weight of millennia of dogma. This green saint performs miracles without the God Emperor's sanction. He communes with something in the void between stars. This is the most seductive heresy of all, the promise of life without faith, of connection without the imperial truth. He must be brought to Terra, for study or for purification. Meanwhile, on Macragge, Jake stood before his small grove, now spreading, weaving through the precinct, its light a beacon in the gloom. Eywa stood beside him, her staff now entwined with a single resilient vine. "The weave stirs," she said, her voice low. "The great enemy senses this intrusion. It does not understand it. It fears it." The Cadian sergeant, his faith cracked but not broken, saluted not to Jake, but to the light. "We hold the line," he rasped, "for now." Jake looked at the stars visible through a shattered viewport, not the familiar constellations of Pandora's sky, but a cold, alien tapestry. He touched the vine beside him. It pulsed warmly, a tiny echo of home. He wasn't Sully of the RDA anymore. He wasn't just Jake of the Na'vi. He was the node, the first root in a dead galaxy. And somewhere in the infinite dark between the stars, the first faint, questioning tendril of something vast and ancient and green began to uncurl, reaching back. The war for the soul of the galaxy had just found a new, unexpected front, and the first shot wouldn't be fired from a bolter or a shuriken catapult. It would be the silent, unstoppable push of a seed through stone.